Okay, recording.
Recording. Today is November the 28th, 2010. We are in the home of Jayne Geiger, the headmaster at Car Hills Country Day School. And I'm going to introduce I am Lew Geiger. I'm going to introduce my daughters. Jayne, headmaster. Joyce, social worker, Morristown. Joan, mediation attorney in Somerville and Raritan.
And the cameraman today is the grandson of Lew Geiger, Jordan Wyatt. Student.
Why don't you flash on to
This is a painting. Do you know the artist's name?
portrait?
This is a portrait
Donna Ayers.
painted by Donna Ayers of Louis Geiger. I would just like to say for all the ancestors of Louis Geiger out there, that's Lewis Geiger. And if you're looking for birth certificate information, it would be under Ludivicum, the Latin spelling of Lew Geiger, or the Latin spelling of Louis. You can see in the painting, he's got a letter in his pocket with a postage stamp reflecting his status as a postal United States postal man.
And he also has a Boy Scout pin
He's got a Boy Scout pin. Where?
on his lapels. It's not painted on, but he was wearing one.
He was wearing one. He has his Boy Scout pin in the picture that the painting was based off of.
And his watch, because he was always on time.
And he's always on time. So we got a wristwatch here. And he bought me a car, so there's the car.
It was at Twin Brooks Country Club.
This picture was taken at Twin Brooks Country Club in Watchung, New Jersey.
And we gave it to him for his 94th birthday.
And it was a present for his 94th birthday. Okay, and this is Mac, the dog.
And we should say Jordan is a student in psychology at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and he is applying to various PhD programs across the country right now.
Indeed.
And that's it. And Louis Geiger, we should say this, Lew lives half the time at Jayne's house where the video is being taken, and the other half the time at my house in Bridgewater, New Jersey.
And at age 95, Poppy still drives from my house to Joan's, from Joan's to Foot and Ankle, and then back from my house to the post office.
And he always goes to the dentist from my house, too. Let us not forget that.
And he is an active babysitter.
The active babysitter of twins.
Okay, I think we're done with the introductions.
I'm going to attempt to give you my version of what happened during World War II. It's we were all men were subject to the draft from ages 18 through 39. In April 1923, I entered the service. But before I entered the service, I had to follow the procedures.
April
April 1941.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I had to. The procedure was you registered in your hometown. Your hometown was divided into small groups, and then you would be called up to go for a physical. That was my first encounter with the military. My physical was to be taken in Dunellen, right across the street from the theater, and it was St. Patrick's Day, 1941, and it was an exceptionally cold, windy day. And we went across the street to the doctor's office, and were heralded upstairs. There was around a group of 20 of us. And the doctor comes out of his office. This is up in a loft. And he says, I want all of you to remove your clothes and just 3 of you come in with shorts on in my office. So these men start to undress. Well, the temperature was in the low 50s, almost in the 40s. And, I said, no way am I'm going to go get into my shorts when it's my turn to go in.
Mm-hmm.
So the men followed me. And the doctor comes out after he checked the first 3, and he said, hey, I told you fellas to get down into your shorts. I don't have time to waste here. And I said, sir, I'm sorry. But in this temperature, I'm not taking my clothes off until I go in there. And he slams the door and goes in. In a few minutes, he comes out and he says, all right, man, you can come into my office, but stay in the back and absolutely no talking. So I says, thank you, doctor. Well, that was my first encounter with the military. Then I passed.
Was he an officer, the doctor? Was he in the military?
No, he was a very good question.
He was a civilian.
A practitioner in Dunno.
Okay.
Under contract with the Army for the first physical. And it was a casual inspection,
Okay.
physical. It wasn't anything real thorough. Then the next step was to go home. And that was March. Now, I had met your mother. I had met their mother earlier. And she knew about her brother. Her brother had been inducted, and he was rejected in Fort Dix because of a hearing problem, ear infection. So
Frank Weckerman.
Frank Weckerman, yes. And we never. The final inspection, final physical, was to come the day you were drafted into the Army. Now the draft was very, very fair. You were given a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, were the main categories, and then you were given letters after the 1, A, B, C, and D. 1A was the highest, 1F was out. Not quite out, 1F was needed some attention, 4F was the worst. That was for someone without limbs or eyesight or such. But it was very fair.
I never knew that. Mm.
And that's the purpose of this little...
I knew 4F. I've heard of 4F before, but I didn't know how it...
No, 4F were, we thought at the time, the lucky ones. Well, anyway, I got a letter stating that on April the 23rd, I'm required at 8 o'clock to report to Dunellen with just traveling clothes and toilet articles, period, which I did. And my sister Carolyn drove me there along with Paul Kafka, and we met. An Army sergeant was standing there in Dunellen waiting for us with a big sheet with the inductees. There were around 6 or 7 men from South Plainfield. There were some from Dunellen and some from Piscataway in the area. And he calls my name out.
So it's done by county.
Yes. But now, one other point. I did not wait to be drafted. I volunteered. But I volunteered for 1 year only. Now, President Roosevelt had a hard time getting the draft law through Congress. The Midwest was strictly isolationist. They wanted no part of the war, no part of helping anybody. But he finally got the draft through with some amendments. One was no draftee could be sent outside the continental United States, which later on had to be defined. Was Alaska outside the continental United States? Was Hawaii outside? Well, anyway, he prevailed.
They were territories then, yeah. They weren't states.
I was given a sheet and told, you're responsible to deliver this unit of men, 15, 16 men, to Fort Dix. And then he told me, he said, you're taking a Central Railroad, but you're only going around 10 miles, and you have to transfer to the Pennsylvania line and take them, which was no problem, except I had to count heads and make sure that everybody on the list is present.
When did you get your uniform?
In a little while.
Okay.
Anyway, it was a very pleasant day. It wasn't cold, but it was just chilly, and most of us had sweaters on. Well, we get to Fort Dix, and in Fort Dix, there's a military unit waiting for us. And we pile into trucks at the station, and we get to the camp, and we're told to disembark. And we disembark at Fort Dix, and then a sergeant comes along and says, "Come on now," and he he divided us into groups, and he put us in, took us over to another station where we were going to get a final physical, and this was a tough physical. There was an attendant at every station, and a nurse, and they really gave you the works. I had absolutely no problem. I went right through. And then when I went right through, I was given a number. And that was my Army serial number.
Oh, do you remember what it was?
Not as in list of person, no. You're given a number, 381, 486, 12, or something like that, and told to stand over there, and certain small men would come along, and you'd get enough in a group, and then they would just march us or walk us over to a barracks.
Now, how old were you, Dad?
What?
How old were you?
Very good, 25.
25.
25, yes. And remember, I think I mentioned earlier, the age group was 18 through 39. So then we were told to march, go from another station to station. We were told we're going to get Army clothes. And then again, I objected to my shoes. I said, no, those are too wide for me. He says, they won't be. I objected to my waist size. He said, no. He says, you're going to grow into it, and so forth. The Army sizes. And anyway, you were fitted for clothes. And beside the clothes, and then you were sent upstairs to a barracks. This was going to be your barracks. And then a sergeant comes up, and I'm going to show you how we make the beds. And then you become indoctrinated with the Army way of doing things. And then, of course, it's bedtime. And then you're told that, and then the following morning, the bugle will sound, the sergeant will come, and up and out, you're going out for formation. And then we were going to be given indoctrination into the Army. Army way of doing things. When the chow time was, how to salute an officer, how to enter a room, and so forth, so on. They just threw everything at us for a couple of days. Well, that was a Tuesday. On a Wednesday, there's a roster posted. We were told to examine the roster on the wall there to see what our duties were. And my name was on the, I had latrine duty. with another, two of us, another fellow, a complete stranger. And I was told to report downstairs to the first, one of the sergeants or corporal, and he would tell us what to do. So I go there, and he hands a bucket, and he hands us polish and rags and whatnot, and he says, go ahead. But I had worked in the Liberty, and I knew how to clean.
The Liberty Theater.
I cleaned the men's room and the living room there once a week. And so I said to the fellow, I says, hey, let's do a nice job. So I showed him how to polish the brass under the sink, how to get behind the sink, how to swab the toilets out, and how to swab the floor. And we're at it for around, it was only supposed to take around an hour, but we were at it a good 2.5 hours. And the sergeant comes in, he's ready to yell at us for taking so long. And he's amazed, he opens his eyes and he says, wow. He says, this place hasn't looked like this since it was built. He says, you guys did a good job. Thanks. You're excused for the rest of the afternoon. So, wow. So we go. So I'm very pleased. But then the next day, we're supposed to look at the bulletin board again.
You know what's coming.
And there's my name and the other man's name, latrine duty. Oh, so I said to him, wait a minute. I said, that's not fair.
That's not been too bad the second
He praised us.
Yeah.
We did a good job. So I said, I'm gonna see him about this. And the fellow says, no, don't, you'll get in trouble.
Right.
I said, I don't care. So,
Yeah.
you listening?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's very annoying.
Okay.
I walk over to the sergeant's room, and the door is open.